Okay, so we're back. Let me lower this a little. There we go. So I am back again. I'm back at work today, so I had to work. So it's Thursday, August 31st, about 7:42 p.m. So yeah, I had to work, so not as many videos today. We'll see if I can get like a couple of them out. I want to do one though, at least one, since we only got five left. Yeah, five left. So I'm been churning them out the last couple days. So today, well, right now, tonight, this video, this is number 10. Yeah, number 10. We're going to do Eileen's team, football team. So let's kind of just dig into it, kind of get started with it. So right off the bat, nomination number 12, we got one of my top players last year, Tyreek Hill. So Tyreek Hill was fantastic for me last year. He was the number 2 fantasy receiver in football, 1,700 yards. He had, 8 touchdowns? My hair's getting everywhere. And, yeah, on 119 receptions, I think, actually moving away from Mahomes kind of helped him because Mahomes tends to spread the ball around with Kansas City. Tua does not spread the ball around. Tua feeds him. He had his highest target share ever, which was 30%. So almost a third of all passes were going his way, which is a crazy, ridiculous number. He was a top 25 scorer in 15 of the 17 weeks as a fantasy player. Just super duper rock solid, consistent. He was fantastic. I think, as I mentioned on Patrick's list, Patrick has Tua as his quarterback. If Tua's healthy, Tyreek will feast. That's very, very simple to say. So, I think you paid for him. I mean, there are cheaper deals for wide receivers that came along, but 57 for Jefferson. We talked about Ryan's team with 69 for Jamar Chase and 64 for Cooper Kupp. So 63 for Hill is right in line with that. I think a little bit of an overpay, but that's okay. He's genuinely excellent. I don't know if he'll reach the heights he just had. 1,700 yards is a monster amount of yards. So I think maybe we'll tape it back to 1,350. I think Jalen Waddle will get a little more play. But I still think he'll get his 8 touchdowns. I still think he'll be rock solid, top-end receiver. Interesting start to our draft. 12th nomination, we got QB Jalen Hurts, $25. So second highest payment for a QB after Patrick Mahomes. Makes sense. He was the other quarterback in the Super Bowl. Hurts was borderline MVP after Mahomes. He had, 34 touchdowns total. Last year was his breakout season. He was the second best. No, he was the best per game scorer at 25.2 fantasy points. So he was the best quarterback in fantasy, ahead of Mahomes because of his rushing touchdowns. He's got an elite offensive line. A.J. Brown's back. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Basically, I kind of see the top 3 as Mahomes, Hurts, and Josh Allen. So you basically pay that cost for Hurts. I don't mind it, though. I mean, he was genuinely excellent. So we've spent, That's 88, exactly 88 on Tyreek Hill and Jalen Hurts. I mean, I like Jalen Hurts. He might push for an MVP this year. I think the Eagles are the class of the NFC, ahead of the 49ers and the Cowboys. It's gross to say the Cowboys, but it's true. Their defense is legit. So yeah, I like the Jalen Hurts selection. Next pick, not so much. So 21st nomination, $15, Joe Burrow. Now, do I like Joe Burrow? Yeah, I think Joe Burrow will be around top 5 fantasy quarterback. I mean, he was excellent last year, 35 touchdown. No, he had 35 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns. So he had 40 touchdowns, even more than Hurts in the regular season. He's got the best trio of receivers in football with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. He's got Joe Mixon in his backfield. The offensive line ought to be better. I don't think. I mean, gosh, his rookie year was bad. His second year, it was below average. I think this year they ought to be average at least. So I'm hoping they're average at least. I think this is year 4, though. Yeah. It's been 2 years of below average offensive line play. So, yeah, I think they'll be average. I mean, they signed Brown, who was the left tackle for Kansas City. La'el Collins is suspended for a little bit, but when he's back, he was actually a pretty good guard for them. So, yeah, I think Burrow is a good player. I just, why are we taking multiple quarterbacks? Why are we especially spending money on multiple quarterbacks? I mean, I get it. It's Eileen. Eileen does what she wants, but it's also just kind of like, I don't know. From a draft standpoint, it's just like asset distribution. You definitely could have used some of that money later on in your draft to help out your team instead of taking a second quarterback who, frankly, I mean, Hurts is never not starting for you, so Burrow's just going to ride your bench for a while. I mean, I like him. He's a good player. I'm playing Hurts the whole season. That's just the short and long of it. I guess you could trade him at some point for something to someone who's QB needy. Someone will be, but you probably won't get much for him because I'll be the only person who's really going after a quarterback in a trade. And if you don't, then he'll just sit on your bench and eat up a bench slot, and you'll need that bench slot at some point. So, I get it because of the person drafting, but, it's still not great use of assets. 25th nomination, $33, Dameon Pierce. This is kind of a weird one. So, the Texans are a dumpster fire. I just got on Stefan about Tank Dell, who's the number 4 receiver. I noticed Brian today picked up Chuba Hubbard, and he dropped the number 3 receiver, which is John Mechie III, who was out last year with lymphoma. And they signed Robert Woods in free agency, hoping that he'll bounce back. All of that's to say, I don't think it'll really matter. Their O-line's no good. Like, the receiving talent's fine, per se, but the O-line's just not very good. And what's that have to do with Pierce? Well, I mean, he got a lot of volume last year. He was the number 14th running back up until he got injured the last 4 games. But that's because he was getting run into the ground. He had over 250 touches in 13 games. That's crazy. We're talking I guess we're talking back end Austin Eckler in his prime, maybe on pace for, goodness me, over 300 touches. And it's just, he's a rookie. What are you doing? But classic Texans dumpster fire, so no surprise there. He's efficient. He's a good player. He has Devin Singletary now from Buffalo to take some of the heat off him. You did not pick up Singletary. He is on Leyland's team. Leyland got him for a couple bucks later on, so kind of funny in that sense. But he's a good player. I think he'll get close to his 1,000 yards. I think he'll get a little bit more touchdowns, so maybe 6. You're kind of running. I mean, Pierce is I don't think he's going to be top 15 running backs. Maybe top 20. You're kind of running basically it's not a hero RB. You're not doing the superstar wide receiver duo either. You're not doing the hybrid running back either. So I guess this is another 0 RB team. Yeah, I guess this is 0 RB at this point, because especially with your next pick, with the 36 nomination, $22 Rachaad White. So, no surprise, a lot of us live in Tampa. So, is White at the top of the depth chart for the Bucs? Yeah. Do I think he's the best running back on the team? No. He wasn't great last year. Leonard Fournette wasn't great either, and they let him go. He got a lot of touches. I mean, he got 50 receptions last year alone, but that's because that's Tom Brady. This is Baker Mayfield. Do I think the Bucs are going more run heavy? Possibly, yeah. I know he's a big breakout candidate, but I don't love the offensive line. I mean, Ryan Jensen's gone for the year already. Tristan Wirfs is incredible at left tackle, but everybody else is like mediocre or worse. So, ugh. I mean, there's nobody else there. They drafted Keyshawn Vaughn. That's a wasted pick. They picked up Chase Edmonds. Waste of money, too. So, yeah, they got no depth. I mean, Russell Gage is gone as their third receiver, too. So, their sixth-round pick, Trey Palmer, won the number 3 wide receiver job. They've gone super cheap, and I kind of get it because the salary cap, but still, man, like, at least fix the line. So, White's going to get work if only because he's the only one there, I suppose. I don't know if he's going to stay healthy the whole season because, again, he's the only one there, I suppose. I mean, I don't think he's the best running back on the roster. I think there's like an undrafted guy out of Illinois, Sean Tucker, who is on the roster, but they're not going to give him play time either. So, and he's got a heart ailment, so it's kind of like, and the team's no good. But even with all that said, White's not very good. He's a good pass catcher. He's not a great run blocker. He's not a great rusher. He's just going to get a ton of volume until he breaks down. So maybe like 900 yards, maybe like 6 touchdowns. I mean, all things considered, it's not bad per se. I mean, he's not as good as like Alexander Madison, but you got him in that price range roughly. I would have, I would have preferred someone like Khalil Herbert or a David Montgomery or a Jamal Williams, just because their situations are like a lot higher floor. Maybe even a James Conner, just because we've never actually seen White do anything. But he's there, $22. Hopefully, he's the guy. He's got to get the volume at this point. He's a breakout candidate, so people like him as a top 20 running back. I'm kind of down on him, though, because I've seen the Bucs. I mean, I live here. All the people talk about, and I'm not projecting a great season. So, yeah. 54th selection nomination, $25. Devontae Smith. Okay. We're pairing Jalen Hurts with Devontae Smith. I like that. Is he as good as A.J. Brown? No. But that's okay. That is okay. He was, what was it? Yeah, he was the 10th best receiver last year. So I didn't know that. Wow. That's really good. So, close to superstar, 2 superstar receivers. Kind of works out. I like Devontae. I think he'll get his, 1,100 yards. I think he'll get his, 7 touchdowns. I think pairing him and Tyreek Hill is really good. I'm surprised. I did not know he was that high, and I did not know he would go for that cheap. So that's a hell of a deal. Whatever savings, basically whatever overpayment you paid for Tyreek Hill, the savings basically were made on the back end with Devontae Smith. That is a great deal. I did not realize he had that good a season last year. Wow. Maybe not as many receptions. He got 95. Maybe the Eagles try to run the ball more, but still, that's excellent. 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, $25. That's borderline top 10 receiver for $25. That's steal all day. 82nd nomination, $5. Drake London. Okay, boy, there's a lot of quite a bit of NFC South love. So, I mentioned this in Patrick's video with Bijan Robinson. I'm thinking that Atlanta's just run heavy. That's just what they are with Arthur Smith. Which means Kyle Pitts and Drake London don't really matter. People will say, oh, he's such a talented player. We've heard that about Kyle Pitts now for, 3 years? We're going on, this is London's second year. Don't care. 100% don't care. I know Robbie picked him last year. I was down on Treylon Burks. I'm down on Drake London. Why is that? They don't fit the offenses. I think he's like a good, tall receiver. He doesn't really get separation. I don't have much belief in Desmond Ridder. I think he'll get his touches. I think he'll be a little better than last year, so maybe like 900 yards and 5 touchdowns, which makes him like a wide receiver, top 30 wide receiver 3. He's got some upside, as we say. Yeah, we say rookie running backs, second-year receivers, third-year quarterbacks. He's a second-year receiver, so he might take that step. I might be wrong. I don't really see it because the offense just isn't catered to him. Nothing is easy for like these pass catchers in Atlanta. Like you don't see any sort of easy passes for them. No run pass options, no screens, no comebacks. Like everything is hard. It's like classic West Coast, like even more classic than like San Francisco, which manufactures touches for like Debo and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. Like this is like we're going back. Like you got to really know how to route run. You got to really know how to get separation, and then you got to rely on the quarterback to throw the ball on a button. And it's not great, man. It's just not. I think he's talented. I think Kyle Pitts is talented. Doesn't matter. This is the Bijan Robinson show now. Like that is where this offense is. It's been this offense for 2 years. It's gonna be this offense for a third year. I haven't seen much of Ridder. I don't care. I think London will be fine for you. He's a fine and dandy wide receiver 3 as long as you don't like expect more of him. He'll be a good player for you. Getting him for $5 is good. That's a good starter. So after that, we took Michael Gallup. So, not really a Michael Gallup fan. I'm going to be honest. I think he's a starter for you. Is he a starter for Eileen? He is a starter for Eileen. Don't love it. Not great. I mean, I know we're shooting for like dollar players, but Dallas, he came back from his ACL last year. He didn't do jack. He got like 39 receptions. Now, it usually takes like 2 years to really fully recover from an ACL tear, but they brought in Brandon Cooks to be the number 2 receiver. I mean, I guess Schultz is gone at the tight end, but it's still not. I don't know if he's going to get a whole lot of touches, especially because I've mentioned this before. I will say it again. Mike McCarthy, the head coach, wants to be more run heavy. He fired his offensive coordinator to be more run heavy. I don't believe in Dak, even if we were doing that whole exercise, but we're not. I think Gallup will get like 50 receptions and maybe 700 yards. I think he'll be a fine slot receiver, but this is definitely something to upgrade. We could have used the money we used on Joe Burrow and done something here. Like, there were other quarterbacks we could have taken as a backup quarterback if we really needed a backup quarterback, which we don't, but, to each his own. But we definitely could have used some of that money on the back end here, because not great. Don't like that as a starter. Nomination $188, Roschon Johnson. I'm surprised more people didn't go after him. I'm also surprised Sarah didn't try to steal him, especially because Sarah has Khalil Herbert. I like Roschon. I think he was buried in the Texas backfield in college behind Bijan. I think if it was just him, he would have been a second-round pick himself. He's 6'4", 219, classic big guy, but he's got a good first step. He's a good player, and he doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires because, again, he was sharing that backfield with Bijan. He only has one career fumble. He's behind Khalil Herbert. He's behind Deontay Foreman. I think Herbert's always been really talented. I've never seen him be the guy, but I think I've always liked Herbert. But Roschon, in and of himself, is a very talented player. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that if Herbert was hurt, we would skip Foreman and just go straight to Roschon. I like Roschon a lot, but he's more of just simply a handcuff. Maybe if Herbert doesn't get hurt, we're talking like 50 to 60 carries, 250 yards. So maybe like 4 yards a carry, roughly. So, like him, don't love the situation either because Justin Fields is the quarterback and he's a notorious runner. But not a great situation. Kind of going to have to wait his turn. More value to another team than yours. Which is interesting because your next pick 10 picks later is Deontay Foreman, who is also competing for the backup job. I mean, I guess I mean, for $1, you got some running backs. They paid Deontay to come in and be the goal line guy. I don't know if that's actually. Excuse me. I don't know if that's actually true. And even if it is true, it seems like Herbert's the guy or Fields. So, or, I mean, we're going to give Roschon a chance. I don't know. I guess getting both of them, you guarantee having the handcuff. But again, it'd be more helpful to Sarah than it is to you, unless you wanted to flip something like Pierce or White for like Herbert. But I don't know if she'd do that. Yeah, it's just kind of funky. You got two backup running backs to a player that's not on your team. So maybe, taking the handcuff of other teams that we like, that kind of makes sense. But taking two of them on the same team, it's a little weird. Taking a third string running back isn't really great. We took another. I mean, you're probably going to be active in trade rumors because I do like Roschon. And then at 208, we took another handcuff running back. This time, Tyjae Spears. So, Spears is a weird dude. He was really good at Tulane. He probably would have gone higher. He was, what is it? He had over 1,800 yards rushing last year. Something funny about him, he went in the third round. He would have gone higher, like high second round, possibly first, except his medicals. He's had 2 ACL surgeries, I think in one of his knees. I think in one of his knees, his ACL is already not there. They describe it like he has something there, like something holding it in place, but it's not like a traditional ACL because he tore his ACL. Then they did a reconstruction with a bone part from his kneecap, and then that tore again. So I don't exactly know how his leg has been healed, and that's why he fell. He got red flagged by a bunch of teams, but he's the handcuff to Derrick Henry. He's really talented. We've been trying to figure out who the handcuff is to Derrick Henry for years. First it was Darrington Evans, and then we tried it with Deontay Foreman. So Tennessee keeps trying to replace Henry, and it keeps not working. But I like Spears. I think he's a very good player. I mean, it's kind of funky that you got him for $1. It's probably because Lauren's team was on auto draft. She really could have used Spears. If she flipped you a tight end for Spears that you could start instead of Gallup, that would make a ton of sense since she's flooded with tight ends. But yeah, no, I like Spears. I think he's a good player. I think that he's a decent handcuff. I think his medicals coming back like that aren't great. I think he'll maybe break 300 yards if Henry's healthy the whole year. But, I mean, if you're just taking shots, getting another rookie running back who's got some potential, I don't hate it, especially for $1. So you could always flip into Lauren again for one of those many, many tight ends that she has. They can turn into a starter instead of Gallup, because I have zero belief in Michael Gallup. First, I don't believe he's going to get a lot of work, and second, even if he does, I think he's going to get injured again anyway. So, same old story. 218 nomination, Paris Campbell, $1. So, I mean, Campbell was a second-round pick by Indianapolis 5 years ago. He became a free agent after a ton of injuries. He's the quasi number 1 in New York. I don't really know. Of all of the teams in the league, I don't really know. I talked about this with the Giants. I think Darren Waller's the number 1, pass catcher in the Giants. I have no idea what the pecking order is after him. We're a lot of Giants fans are just oh, we're so deep at receiver. No, you're not. You just have a bunch of dudes. I don't know if any of these dudes are actually good. Sterling Shepard's always hurt. Wandale Robinson's coming back from a torn ACL. Darius Slayton's okay. Paris Campbell's always hurt. This don't make no sense. Jalen Hyatt, we took in the third round. He can run go routes. He can't run comebackers. He has no feel for route running. I just described to you 5 different receivers, and I have no idea what the order is for any of those dudes. Not a clue. So, yeah. They had to let go of Richie James, who I actually liked, and he signed with the Chiefs. So all of that is to say, I mean, it seems like Campbell's lining up as the number 1 in New York, I'm not going to hold my breath because I've never seen him healthy. Yeah, I haven't seen him healthy like since college, and that was 5 years ago. So maybe he can be good. I guess I don't really know. For a dollar, I guess we can find out. Sure, he's got some decent usage, but yeah, I'd probably cut him and just pick up somebody at receiver. I'm gonna be honest, just because the Giants, like even if even if he's healthy and even if he's the number one receiver, Darren Waller's going to get the work. And even more so than that, do we really trust that Daniel Jones is going to throw a lot? He only threw for 15 touchdowns last year. That's not a lot. So, yeah, I guess it's fine. 225 nomination, a dollar for Jelani Woods. Well, I mean, he was a third round pick this year. I don't usually like rookie tight ends. I especially don't like rookie tight ends who have injuries. So he's already on injured reserve and out for 4 games. I'd probably cut him. I'll just be honest. I don't think the Colts offense is good enough to support more than one pass catcher, if I'm honest. Like, I just cut Alex Pierce, who's the number 2 wide receiver. Jonathan Taylor is out 4 games. Michael Pittman went for like $5. I think he's just the guy. And I think nobody else really matters because I don't think that Colts offense is going to be that good. I think they're going to run the ball out with Anthony Richardson, and that's just it. But I especially don't want a rookie backup tight end who's injured. Like, no. I just cut him. All around, kind of like a chaotic but classic Eileen build. Not a lot of depth, like zero depth at running back. I don't understand why we didn't get Devin Singletary for $2 later on, or like Rachaad White's backup is technically Chase Edmonds. He was free. He was on free agency. We didn't get the handcuffs for that. Okay. I mean, I like Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, Drake London. I mean, I like the starting lineup. That's fine and dandy mostly. I think Michael Gallup as the flex is going to be an issue the entire year, if not whenever he gets injured. And there's no one really you can plug in place of him either. You're kind of stuck. We're just going to give this team a C. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the team's bad. There are going to be weeks where Tyreek, Devontae Smith, or Hurts just win you games. So I give you credit for that. You got a good, solid, starting. I just wish, we took that $15 of Joe Burrow. We could have turned that into, 3 legitimate good players at the back end of our draft. And we have a backup quarterback we're literally never going to use. It's one thing if you want to take, a high upside quarterback. I disagree with Robbie on taking 2 quarterbacks, but I understand his reasoning behind it. Let me go. I have Patrick Mahomes. Let me get a cheap Lamar Jackson, or let me get a cheap rookie quarterback that I like. I get that. You didn't pay. Joe Burrow was not cheap. $15 could have gone a long, long way to helping you build out the back end of your roster. But instead, you have a backup quarterback that's gonna sit on your bench probably the whole year until you trade him. So, I mean, not great, just bad usage of assets. Bad, not a fan of it. But overall, I don't think the team's bad. I think you're going to surprise some people. I think after going to the finals, I mean, honestly, there is a way I can see you making the playoffs. Just because, Tyreek, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Pierce, White, London, none of them have any injury issues. A lot of other teams, like Ryan's already dealing with injury issues with Cooper Kupp. A lot of other teams have injury-prone guys, or they're kind of hoping on something. You're not really hoping on anything. You guys just gotta do what they do. And if they do what they do, you're a playoff team. I just don't know if they're going to do what they do because you're not really protecting yourself for any sort of injury at all. And your flex players genuinely bad. So I think based off the ceiling, if everyone stays healthy and good, very good team. The floor, someone gets hurt like Tyreek, the floor's going to go through you're going to fall through the floor. You're going to go into a hole. So I'm gonna give you a C, just an average draft, but I don't think it's bad. I think you got a shot at the playoffs. I think you're like a middle of the road team. You're probably closer towards the bottom than the top, if we're honest. But yeah, I think for you, you just kind of you're playing your own game. So I kind of get it, and we shall see where this season takes you. But yeah, I don't hate the team. I thought I was gonna come in here and just be like not very unhappy, but it's just like it's not it's not bad. It's all right. I think you can get somewhere with it, and that's something.